What to do if you're torn between the path of spiritual awakening and the path of creating success. What to do when you've found a taste of awakening, where you've had maybe a couple awakening experiences, they were amazing, you can see reality in a way that you couldn't before, and you're wondering how deep that rabbit hole goes. But then at the very same time, you've maybe had a little taste of success, of creating success in the world, like in the form of making some money, in the form of creating your art, starting a business, just like doing stuff out in the world and creating an impact out there, and you have a sense of how good that can be too. What do? How do you prioritize them? They're both important, perhaps even essential in their own way, and yet they're both lifetime pursuits where you can pursue the path of awakening pretty much forever, pretty much for the rest of your life, and have the universe disclose to you its deeper mysteries. You can merge with it more deeply. You can perceive it with more clarity. You can come to know it in an experiential way. And when you do, as you have probably noticed, when you have an awakening experience, it's immediately fulfilling and gratifying. It's like, oh my God, this is why I'm alive. This is why I'm alive. This is the purpose of my life. So that's pretty good. But then also the path of success is deeply exciting, intoxicating even, fulfilling, amazing. It's thrilling, to move deeply into success. And it's also a lifetime pursuit. Like, it just goes as long as you stay on the ride. So what do? Do we split our intention in half? We go half of the day we go this way, half the day we go that way. Do we put one in front of the other? Is one more important than the other? I want to share with you in what I hope is a short talk how to view this problem and how to go about the integration of these two to get as much benefit from both as you can. So let's get into it. My name is Brent, if we've never met before. Hello. I coach people on productivity and self-actualization, which includes the path of success and the path of awakening. So if you want to learn more about that, there is a link for it below where you can learn all about it. And if you are interested in this subject matter and you want to get into it with me here, hit that like button to indicate and leave a comment, please, telling me about your relationship with success and awakening. How do you bring them together? I really want to know. I mean, I want the comments, but I also really want to know. So here we go. So the thesis, here's the thesis, the main thing that I'm going to argue and defend here, which is that you can and you must integrate the paths of awakening and success into a unified path. And that when done properly, these two paths reinforce each other mutually. They bolster each other, they serve each other. The benefit of being able to complete this integration of the two paths are manifold, but namely, you become more creative and your life becomes more of an experience of flow. So just in whatever your work is, regardless of whether or not you're an artist, you become more creative, you think out of the box and even further out of the box and even further out of the box, and you can pull novel solutions and ideas from even more disparate, faraway concepts. You can make all sorts of connections. It's very cool. The second one is your life is imbued deeply with meaning. Your life becomes just so meaningful and purposeful, and there's this real sense of, I dare say, excitement to wake up and get out of bed in the morning, even when things are hard, even when things are full of struggle and suffering. There's an almost cinematic quality about your life, especially when your attention is no longer on trying to move into the future, and it's more like just surfing the wave of this particular moment as it delivers you to the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. So this keen interest on the now gives your life a movie-like, sort of cinematic-like quality to it. And then the third one is the power. It's, as Hawkins describes the movement from force into power, as you integrate these two paths, your ability to be in control of your situation, your ability to move the needle, to actually make something happen becomes increased. And if you're interested about this concept of being in control, check out my most recent video on how to be in control of your life, where we talk about that particular facet. But that is there as a part of what we're doing here. So that's why it's so important to integrate these things. So here is the basic stuff that you need to know about how to make this happen. So the path of success leads to survival. So in other words, I want you to view success as the establishment of survival. They're synonymous. This is two ways of viewing the same thing. That which you call success, like money, and you have a good house, and your relationships, and your physical health, and everything's just kind of locked into place. What we can say is you have locked down survival in that you feel secure in your existence. So think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for example, like the need for shelter and sustenance and reproduction, and moving on up the pyramid from there. If you go all in on spirituality, the problem with that is that spirituality at the expense of survival leads to poverty, because spirituality is not the same as survival. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. The path of survival and the path of spirituality are two distinctly different paths. They don't, like, success on one path does not equate success on the other path. If you become very successful in spiritual awakening, then you become deeply aware of yourself as God, yourself as creator. You become deeply peaceful, deeply selfless, deeply loving, and this creates a very wonderful experience of life, but will nevertheless be an impoverished one, where you are either, say, out on the streets, or you're begging for money, or you're part of a commune, but you're kind of dependent on the commune, or you're dependent on handouts. You haven't developed any real world skills. And what I'm claiming here, and what I want you to know, if you are considering the spiritual path at the expense of the path of success and survival, is that the secondary purpose of the spiritual path is failed if you do it. The secondary purpose of spirituality is to take your insight and to take your awakening and ground it into the world. So this means turning it into a teaching practice. It means turning it into becoming a healer. Or if none of these, like even if you're just a bricklayer, or you clean homes for a living, or any one of these things, when you become awakened, then whatever you do in the world as a matter of survival is imbued with that awakening, is imbued with that selflessness. It's imbued with that beauty. And so the primary purpose of spirituality is to become awakened. The secondary purpose of spirituality is to take that awakening and to allow the material world, the gross world, to be transformed by what you bring in, the God consciousness that you bring in through your awakening as a channel. And so if you don't develop your survival in the world, then it's fine that you've achieved the primary purpose of spirituality, which is to have become awake, but you're no longer grounding in the gifts. You're not bringing it through, and this is a failure of the second purpose. Now, becoming successful is an important end in and of itself. To become successful, in one manner of speaking, is important, period. Period. You should become successful. You should ensure your survival in the world because you should, because it's good. There's an almost absoluteness about it. And part of the reason for this is because to ensure your survival in the world is to maintain your dignity, right? If you index only for spiritual awakening and make that your only priority, then you do this actually at the cost of your dignity. Your clothes are dirty, your health is ill-maintained, you are not able to communicate your words to the public because you haven't practiced this ability, you don't smell good, all of these things come as a result of not taking care of your survival. So there's no dignity behind it. But furthermore, there's a secondary purpose for survival beyond just the primary purpose of it's good to survive and there's dignity in it, which is that survival, of course, platforms or enables awakening. So when your survival is locked down and you have an income and you have a roof over your head, then you are free to pursue spirituality more doggedly. So to expand on what I was saying earlier about how your spirituality practice informs your work, informs your survival, this would be an example of how this kind of thing goes. For somebody who does not have a spirituality practice, this would be somebody who has not learned how to deeply appreciate the now moment without treating it as an obstacle to a next moment. A person without a spirituality practice sees the now moment as sort of a prison that is made out of circumstances that are completely outside of this individual, and sees life as a hostile other that is constantly serving up challenges and difficulties that need to be overcome. From an awakened perspective, when we view a task, for example, such as writing an email to somebody that we don't want to write an email to, and we feel like we want to procrastinate on it, we just really don't want to do it. We feel like we want to either get away from it, delay it, or get through it as quickly as possible. The spirituality practice teaches us how to treat this task as an opportunity for ever deeper surrender. And so an example of a process that your spirituality practice might take you through would be to look at this task and first acknowledge how much you don't want to do it, acknowledge how much you hate it, and you give that respect, you give that dignity. And then you slow down and meet the task where it is, and you permit yourself to do this task. You permit this task to be good enough for you. You will notice over the course of this talk, I've been using language along the lines of give yourself over. It's like, what path should I give myself over to? Because what I discovered in myself when I was grappling with this problem, and what I suspect you might also be going through, is that you have a desire to give yourself over to something completely on the condition that it's the right thing, on the condition that it's the correct use of your time, on the condition that it's a worthwhile allocation of your energy and of yourself. Isn't this so? Don't you feel like you want to give yourself over to something that's larger to yourself, something other than yourself? So the key here is returning to this email. You give yourself over to this email. And you start, just before you dive in, you say, okay, does this email need to be done? Is this a worthwhile use of my time? Okay, yes, we're in agreement, it is. And so you dive in. And so then as you dive in, of course, you start encountering resistance, you start encountering boredom. But what you do is you don't shrink away, nor do you force yourself through. You just simply stay with it, like a puzzle maybe, like an unknown. You just kind of stick with it. You just keep your consciousness right there and allow your consciousness to transform the activity. Sometimes what happens is an insight will come up like, oh, I see, I just really don't like this person. That's why I don't want to write it. Or an insight might come up like, oh, I see, I just don't know how to say this in such a way where I'm still respectful, but I'm communicating the problem. And then there's a clarity that emerges. Just the way forward just emerges as a result of you holding your attention against this thing. And then finally the tension dissolves and the path is revealed and you just go through. What I just shared with you is the basis for achieving the flow state. And the reason why this is possible is because you have a spirituality practice where you learn how to hold your attention on a fixed spot for a long time. What you'll also notice is that pain has been dissolved. Where there was tension in you, where there was friction in you, it's been dissolved. This is a sort of healing that happens. And this is another benefit of the awakening practice and how it informs your survival, how it informs your work. What it also does is it teaches you deeper surrender. One of the most important gifts that comes from awakening is the practice of surrender. Surrender is to have a stance towards life that is a combination of allowance and intention. To be in a surrendered place is to be in your moment, in your life, in the now, instead of hovering over it. Instead of judging it as not good enough for you, instead of kind of being half in, half out and waiting for something else to come. To be surrendered is to be in it completely, and so completely that there's hardly even a division between you and the it that you're in and a part of. Now you might say, well, if I'm in this surrendered state, how do I be in control of anything? And the short answer is, and I would like for you to learn from my experience on this, you don't do this at the expense of your intention. So if you're in a situation that you want to change and improve, there is still an intention to change and improve. That comes along with a method and application and an execution of the plan. But that still happens in the framework of surrender. You're still in the thing, as opposed to waiting for your life to begin. This is how you achieve that cinematic quality that I was talking about earlier. Life becomes really, like when you learn to become deeply surrendered with life, then the day itself is meaningful. The moment itself is meaningful. Me speaking to you, you listening, us being here in this atemporal communication is meaningful. And it becomes the purpose of your whole life. It becomes the purpose of everything. The reason why I'm alive is this. The reason why I live, the reason why I breathe is this. The meaning is packed right into this moment. It also makes, when you bring and anchor your spirituality practice into your work, it makes your work more holistic, which is something I'm really deeply grateful for. As you become more awake, you become necessarily more loving. The boundary between yourself and other dissolves. And so as a result, when you do business, when you negotiate deals, when you do the stuff out in the business world, your priority becomes less and less about how to get a quick win. And it becomes more and more about how can I make sure that my success becomes everyone's success. For example, this video, I hope, becomes successful because as it does, I hope and intend that it creates success for you. If you hit like, if you subscribe, I hope my work creates success for you, and the success that is created for you cascades further success outward. The last thing to say about this is that in terms of the byproducts of your spirituality practice and how it informs your work is that it makes you more powerful. There's more power. It's not the same as control, as we established in my most recent video, how to be in control of your life. It's not the same as control, but it's power. It means you can do things. It means you can change, you can influence, you can make shit happen. You are lucid dreaming in your life, as opposed to being not lucid and just kind of being a leaf blown on the wind. So to ground this all in, to bring it all to a close, success platforms awakening, which informs success. That is their role. Each of these things is of absolute importance on their own, but this is how they work together and reinforce and serve each other. So I'm just going to close out with a quick method. So if you're sold on all of this, if it all makes sense and you want to have something to do, here are 4 things that you can do to bring this integration to life. Number 1 is to create and maintain a spiritual practice if you haven't done so already. So meditate daily. Don't skip it. Don't not meditate. Don't be a person who doesn't meditate. Meditate. Or do yoga. Or pray. Or chant. Like have your communion with divinity. And maintain it over time and deepen it over time. Develop it into your own thing. Develop your understanding of it over time. Number 2, take excellent care of your health. Become a person who is constantly taking care of their health and doing a better job of it over time. I made a commitment maybe 3 or 4 years ago to find peak health, to arrive at peak possible health. And I started with the low-hanging fruit. Just stop smoking pot, stopped drinking alcohol, started going to the gym when I was not going to the gym. What else? Sleeping more, making sure that I have a kid and sometimes she wakes me up early or it's hard to go to sleep on time, but committing to getting 8 hours of sleep every day, making sure to catch up on my sleep when I can. eating well, making sure to get all your macros, like all this stuff. And of course, the body, the physical health, is the temple of the communion between survival and awakening. Both take place from the body as a result of the body. That integration takes place in the body, so the body must be made very healthy. Number 3, discover and use your intention regularly. Intend for things. Set a firm intention for your spirituality practice. What is it? Is it to become awake? Is it to become God-realized? Is it to become, is it to know peace as deeply as you can? Is it to bring an end to suffering? But then also establish your intention with specifics for your success and your survival. And then number 4 is to surrender to your work situation. So have your intention set in place. Here's the life I wish to create for myself. Here's the life I intend to create for myself. Here's how I'm going to do it. And now with the intentions in place, surrender. Turn yourself over to it. Give yourself to your life. Give yourself to the now. Give yourself to this. Give yourself to God. Practice that total devotion of yourself to the worthy thing that's larger than you. And if you do this, you will find yourself integrating these two paths in a profitable way. I hope this was helpful for you. If you're interested in getting one-on-one work with me, the link for that is below, including some other goodies. Kindly hit like, please, and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.